If your New Year's resolution for 2022 is to quit smoking weed, I have some tips in today's video that are going to help you out. If you're new to the channel, my name's Dr. Frank. I was once addicted to nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content. And now I have a company, AddictionMindset Recovery Coaching, which is dedicated to helping people quit those things. First and foremost, if you're trying to quit smoking weed for the year of 2022, you have to get really clear on the mentality that the negatives of weed use, of smoking weed, outweigh the benefits. And I want to go a step further from that and say you have to get really clear on, at this point in your journey, at this point in your addiction to THC, there is no longer a benefit to using weed in no way, shape, or form. Quitting smoking weed for 2022 is going to be really hard if you have a perceived benefit to smoking or to using cannabis. And a lot of people are going to say, and I thought this too at one point, well, it helps with the anxiety, it helps with the depression. And I would have two comments on that. I'm not sure that that's the case. Because if you're coming to a point of wanting to quit something and you tell yourself you're going to quit, but then you don't, you fall back on your own word, you fall back on your own promise that you made to yourself, that in turn could actually create a lot of anxiety. If you're truly struggling with a THC addiction, there's a chance that it's negatively impacting your finances, your relationship. Perhaps you have Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome and it's negatively impacting your health. All of those things are actually going to increase a person's anxiety. So that would be my first piece of advice. You have to get really clear and really firm and truly believe that you are no longer receiving a benefit from continuing to smoke weed. Because if you think that you're continuing to receive a benefit from it, quitting is going to be such a painful process. It's going to be nearly impossible. That's where you got to start, okay, with that mindset. Now, tip number 2 would be this is a new year. You are entering a new chapter of your life with new and exciting things ahead of you, new and exciting things that you want to pursue. And you have to let go of the old times, of the past times. So many times when it comes to quitting weed, I think people hold on to the first few times they smoked and they forget what it actually felt like the last few times they smoked. So I need you to let go of the good times, and I need you to acknowledge that right now, if you're at a point where you truly want to quit, that means that you've entered bad times with your cannabis use. Because if you can acknowledge that there's no benefit, if you can acknowledge that you're truly not enjoying this anymore, that there's truly no enjoyment to continue smoking weed, quitting becomes much easier. So many people struggle to quit because there's this perceived enjoyment. And when you can really look at it and really ask yourself, well, what is it that I actually enjoy at this point in my relationship and my weed smoking journey? If you can truly determine that, hey, there's nothing that I enjoy about this, there's no benefit to me continuing to do this anymore, I promise that quitting is going to be significantly easier. Now, a lot of people wind up relapsing because of withdrawal symptoms. They quit smoking weed and they start to experience withdrawal symptoms. And I think one of the best things you can do is simply be prepared for THC withdrawal symptoms when you quit. Now, those symptoms are going to be a lot less serious if you go into this with the right mindset, because if you're going into this with the feeling of deprivation, that you're depriving yourself of something, you're going to have worse physical withdrawal symptoms. The psychological will make the physical worse. But for those of you guys who are suffering from withdrawal symptoms, my advice would be is plan ahead for it. Plan on taking it easy January 1st through January 12th. Treat it like you have the flu. Partake in light to moderate exercise. Partake in talk therapy. Join a support group like Marijuana Anonymous, or you can work with our offices here at Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching. Talk to friends, talk to family. Just be ready to go easy on yourself for the next 2 weeks and ride out those withdrawal symptoms. My next piece of advice for quitting smoking weed in 2022 would be quit cold turkey. Don't wean off slowly. Don't try and negotiate with yourself. Making one singular decision. I'm going to quit, and that's all there is to it. I'm putting my foot down to addiction, and I'm done. Come hell or high water, I am not going back to this. I think is much, much easier of a decision to make than trying to moderate your use. Because if you're going to go into this saying, well, I'm going to smoke less and less each day, you actually become more consumed by weed, because what you're doing in turn now is you're just building up all day long for that moment when you can take that hit, for that moment when you can smoke weed again. And what we find often happens with people when they're quitting with the moderation approach is they wind up becoming consumed by that thought of, when am I going to get my next hit? When can I smoke again? It's almost like you're depriving yourself of something. And I think for most people, I know this was true for myself, who struggle with addiction, moderation doesn't really exist. And at this point in my life, that's a really good thing. I don't have much moderation when it comes to putting out YouTube videos and pursuing my business. I don't have much moderation for trying to further develop my relationship with my wife. I don't have much moderation for the things in life that actually bring me joy. At the heart of it, I have an addictive personality. I have an obsessive personality. And if I use those traits towards positive things, I think that's awesome. It's a really good feeling. So for me to try and moderate something is painful. I'm a guy that doesn't like moderation. And there's a good chance that you're the same type of person if you're watching this video. You're either all in or you're all out. So when you make a decision, I think it's much easier to be firm in your decision. I'm quitting weed, I'm done with it, and I'm not going back. Come hell or high water, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to develop the coping mechanisms I need to help deal with this anxiety. I'm going to get a book like Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers to help deal with this anxiety. I'm going to work with a therapist. Whatever it is, when the withdrawals come, I'm going to celebrate the withdrawals, because that's a sign that I'm beating this addiction, and that's nothing more than addiction trying to pull me back in. Making one firm decision is much easier than making a million little decisions all day long. Should I smoke? Should I not smoke? Should I smoke with my friends? Should I not smoke with my friends? Should I wait until the Sunday after New Year's to quit and just one more time New Year's Eve? No. Make a decision and be firm in your decision. And I promise you that's going to lead to a much easier quitting process than going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because going back and forth constantly with yourself, and I found this with an addiction, is an absolutely exhausting process. And if you wear yourself down, if you allow that addictive voice to wear you down and wear you out, the chances of relapse significantly increase. The more fatigued you get from negotiating with yourself and that addictive voice, the greater the chances of relapse become. Quit smoking weed cold turkey. Get support, whether it's through our offices here at AddictionMindset Recovery Coaching or through a group like Marijuana Anonymous or something else. Have a support network. Be firm in your decision to quit. Don't be wishy-washy. Addiction has probably made you wishy-washy in multiple areas of your life. And this is a year, this is an opportunity for you to start to be decisive in your decision making. And the more decisive you are, the more confidence you're going to build in your decisions. And the more confidence you're going to build, the more success you're going to have in your life. I can almost guarantee you that. Don't let the withdrawals mess with you. Plan ahead for the withdrawals. Don't get caught up in the notion that you're going to quit and everything's going to be just peachy. Plan for 2 weeks of having the flu or feeling a little bit sick and plan on getting through that. And I guess my other tip would be follow me into this playlist that I made for you on quitting smoking weed, because I have a lot of great videos here to help you get the right mindset for this. I'll see you guys in 2022.